I wanted to come on here and talk about some of the differences that I've noticed with the men and women I've trained over the years that are 50 plus years old, 60 plus years old, some even in their 70s, and just the net positive that working out and fitness has had on them. And it's kind of crazy because, I feel like it's more of a younger generation type of thing to think, oh yeah, like let's get into exercise, let's go to the gym, let's do this, let's do that. And I noticed with the older generation, it's not nearly as common, but it's kind of starting to become mainstream a bit more. And it's pretty cool because at the end of this video, I'll even post a little section of a video that my client Greg just sent in of just his experience working together and how him as a 64-year-old pilot who's sitting on his butt all day half the time, how the kind of difference that he's had and the experience that he's had when he started introducing weight training and weightlifting. And for someone who's been working out for 40 plus years, the first day we met, he said, I've been working out longer than you've been alive. Like, basically, he was challenging me super hard on, hey, like, what are you going to show me that I need to know that I don't know already? And so it's really cool. So stay tuned for that at the end, when you can kind of hear a little bit of his testimony and how exercise has really changed his life and what he's been able to do with that. I also trained his wife, Kathy, and Kathy is, so Greg is 64 years old, Kathy is 61 years old. And same thing, they were both athletes growing up. They did a lot of marathon running, they ran a lot, they lifted weights, they did all this stuff. And as they start to get into the later part of their years, they realize, wow, this kind of sucks. Why are my knees hurting? Why is my back hurting? What's going on with me? Like, what is wrong with me? And how come I am hitting these plateaus that I've never hit before? And it's really interesting to just kind of see that over the years, how a lot of people, it's almost like Greg specifically, he'll tell you, like, the ego when we first met was like, well, what is this kid going to tell me? Especially, like, I look like I'm 18 years old, especially when I'm clean shaven. And so it's just cool to see that transformation over time, not just physically, but mentally, and the amount of muscle that they've been able to pack on. And then the amount of injury that we've been able to prevent with them as well. So whether you are someone who is 50, 60, 70 years old watching this, or whether you are someone who has, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, people that are in this position where they are a lot more susceptible to falling, breaking a hip. When you break a hip, your chance of mortality just skyrockets. Even after the age of like 55, 60, like it is what it is. It's an unfortunate statistic, but resistance training it does such a great job at preventing that. Even just like grip strength in general, being able to catch yourself on a railing or hold yourself against the counter, having the capability of doing that to prevent those broken hips just goes such a long way. And what I notice when it comes to resistance training is a lot of people 50 plus, 60 plus, they fear the weights. And it almost sounds weird because you would think like, the typical young person, male, female, whatever, is like, oh, let me see if I could get one more. Let me see if I can push a little heavier. I want to tell my boys, hey, I was able to do 5 pounds more this time. That sort of thing. And so it's pretty interesting to see that dichotomy of these older people do not have that same mentality that we do. A lot of people like Gen Z, growing up in, people in their 20s, their 30s even teenagers nowadays, just being able to bench 315 pounds, like things like that are it's pretty insane kind of the direction that fitness has taken over the past few years, but it's really cool to see that at the same time. And so I noticed with that fear from the older generations, it comes with a lot of what I like to say comfortability and confidence. And when you develop both of those, you tend to have a much easier time in just about anything of developing and adapting to a skill and really growing with that. And it's not just the matter of going in and just pushing some weight and leaving. Like, I think true intent behind it matters as well. And so when I would train a lot of these people that are older, every time it's like, oh, cool, like this looks good, let's add 5 more pounds on, they would look at me and they would kind of like hesitate, like, oh, I don't think I can do that. And I would explain, no, you just did 15 reps with this we're going to add a little bit more weight on. We're going to aim for 8 reps on this. And they would freak out because I purposely have them doing higher reps. 1, to, let them kind of feel the burn, let them enjoy that. And then 2, to let them practice their form, because I'm pretty nitpicky when it comes to form. And so I would want them to practice that form over and over and over. And through that, we would sometimes do 3 sets of 15, whatever. And I noticed when it came to adding weight, even if they weren't really pushing themselves, they'd get this paralysis, like, oh my gosh, I can't do it. Like this limiting belief, like a barrier that just completely blocks them off. And I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. But I get it though. They might see me, they think, oh, well, yeah, you're young, you're healthy, you're a guy, it's easier for you. And yeah, it is easier for me. But there's a difference between, letting your fear cloud your judgment, and actually, overcoming that fear and taking that leap, especially that leap of faith when you have someone with you, someone trained in this, someone who is there to help you. And so over time, I had to chip away at that quite a bit with a lot of them. And it kind of sucked, but I started to learn how to word that a bit differently. Not to get all, I said, cloud your fear judgment and all that, not to get all Yoda on you guys, but that's really what it was. It was that their fear of the unknown was stopping them from actually getting the results that they wanted. And so through that, I realized that I almost had to word it differently to them to get the same result. And I would say, hey, we're gonna really focus on this thing instead of this thing. Like we're gonna really focus on the strength side of things to build that up. And I would have to explain, we want to prevent broken hips. You want to be able to play with your kids, your grandkids. You want to be able to pick your grandkids up, right, and play with them when you're 70 years old. You don't want to feel back pain or feel like you're missing out on memories because your lack of fitness held you back, and your fear of being able to commit to pushing something heavier is what held you back. And so I started to realize that made a lot more sense to them, not just me saying, hey, we're going to progressive overload. We're going to try 1 more rep. We're going to try 5 more pounds, 10 more pounds. And I noticed that made a big difference when I actually connected it to the outcome that they wanted, the memories that they wanted to create, the time that they wanted to spend with their family. And it's really cool to see that. But I think the fear of most people in general, even just going to the gym, a lot of people even in their 70s that have trained, huge fear of going to the gym in general. And they're like, yeah, well, I'm just going to go to this Pilates class, or I'm just going to walk a little bit on the treadmill, that sort of thing. And so I think the lack of education is starting to become dissipated now with that older generation, because now they scroll too. I've seen a lot of people in their 60s and 70s just doom scrolling hours on end. And it's kind of crazy because you almost never think that would have happened. But now 2026, here we are. This is just how it is. And so now they're starting to learn more. They're starting to ask more questions. Hey, I saw this thing on Instagram. Hey, what do these bands do? Should I take this supplement? All these questions that they have, I'm able to start finally answering those because they have the questions. It's not just me spewing stuff to them. And I think when it hits them constantly, possibly 5 times in one scrolling session, they start to see, oh, wait a minute, this is normal. This is good to go to the gym. It's healthy to exercise. I don't think many people need to be told, yeah, it's healthy to exercise. I think it's just actually getting them in there is challenging. And getting them to do stuff and then getting them to push is challenging, especially if this is something they've never done before. One of my guys, Angel, he's a competitive ballroom dancer, 70 years old, I might add. This dude came to me with bad knees and a bad back. And he was very fearful of any sort of squatting, any sort of burn, any sort of push. And at 70 years old, yeah, it's I might be a little more on the fragile side. He's a leaner dude as well. So there's a lot of fear that plays into that of, yeah, well, I need to be careful so I don't hurt myself. And it's yeah, we do need to be careful so you don't hurt yourself, but you also need to take the measure and push yourself so you don't hurt yourself. Because all of a sudden, we practice some sort of even barbell squatting. I have my 70-year-old barbell squatting. Yeah, that is doable. That is very reasonable. But what we started him off with is TRX squats, body weight squats. Let me see how his movement pattern is. Let's see how he's working. What's he working with? Is it really pain or is it fear of pain? And so what I noticed with him specifically is that we would do a TRX. That's where you have this rope and you're hanging onto some handles, and he's doing these assisted squats from this rope. And I noticed that he'd feel a lot of pain in certain ways. I'm like, okay, hey, let's widen your stance a little bit. Let's point your toes out. Let's have your knees follow your toes. And he'd start to notice oh yeah, that doesn't really hurt as bad. I'm like, okay, cool. And over time, we progressed him to these barbell squats, and even just putting a bar on his back, extremely fearful. Oh my gosh, this thing is heavy. It's imbalanced. I don't really know what I'm doing with this. And after we develop that confidence, that comfortability, there's a difference between pushing someone super hard right off the bat and then actually letting them get used to something. Like, people might have seen us working out or seen him doing his own lifts and think, why is that guy not pushing himself? Like, he has way more left in the tank. But in reality, he had to develop that confidence. He had to get used to setting up under the bar. Let me make sure my hands are even. I'm stepping underneath. That bar is placed directly where it needs to be on my back. I'm keeping my chest up. I'm keeping my core tight. When I'm squatting down, I'm looking in the mirror. I have my knees and toes following. Like, all that. We don't need to add weight. All of that stuff I just listed off, like, that's stuff that's going on in his head. And that's stuff that every single session we were able to develop with him. And through that, he started to get used to it. He realized, oh, wait, I'm way stronger than I realized. This bar is nothing. It just feels heavy at first because I don't know how to hold it. I don't have any leverage going into this. And so we started adding 10 pounds at a time. Add 5 pounds to that, add 5 more pounds. Now he has darn near squatting 100 pounds for reps at 70 years old, originally having bad knees and a bad back. And you want to know what we did after we did barbell squats? I took him over to do sissy squats. So basically where he's hanging on to something and he's flexing his knees all the way to the ground and standing back up. So he's flexing his knees down and standing back up while he's holding on to something. So the fact that over the past year, we've just been able to develop that with him and break him out of that comfort zone bit by bit, that's been absolutely huge. Because whether you are 70 years old or you have grandparents, parents that are 70 years old, these are things that you don't just want to tell them, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Because 9 times out of 10, I think just humans, we're just rebellious in general. We're not really going to pay attention to that. We're going to want to go against the grain, if that makes sense. So when you have someone that you are actually trying to get to make a change, you have to ease them into it. You have to almost word it in a way that they want to hear, but you're getting the direct result. And now it's going to vary person to person, but I just noticed what this is the trend that I took with the older generation to make them understand, hey, this is good for you. This is a net positive. You just might not want to hear it for what it actually is. And so through him having his bad knees and a bad back, we started to develop that strength a lot over time. And he just got used to it. And now it's all of a sudden, he's like, yeah, well, I can do this. I can do that. Even just picking my dogs up are becoming easier. When I'm ballroom dancing, like I said, he's a competitive ballroom dancer. When I'm ballroom dancing, I feel smoother. I feel stronger. I can actually hold my posture better. He has coaches for that as well. He said my whole entire demeanor has changed. My confidence has changed. My ability to move and execute in the ballroom has completely changed. And so it's really cool to see that. And I think a lot of people that are 50 plus, 60 plus, men and women, there's just a lot of fear behind that. But resistance training is good. Lifting weights is good. This is not something that you need to be fearful of. It is more so something that you want to dip your toes into, like getting into a pool. Like, you kind of get your feet wet a little bit, see how it feels, test some things out. Hey, is this working? Is this not working? If the person is inexperienced with the gym, hopefully we have someone there to actually guide them and help them. That's literally my job as a fitness coach. Like, how can I guide you? How can I help you? What can I do? What are you lacking that I can help adjust for you? Or, even if it's an anxious thing, a fear thing, a movement thing. I've had some older, like Greg, for example. This dude loves lifting, but he there's certain movement patterns that he hasn't developed and that we needed to learn to develop and get his, Achilles mobile enough and his hamstrings flexible enough to create and execute these movements on a proper level. And so I think in the end, when it comes to resistance training and people of that age, you just need to make it easy for them and let them see why this benefits them, like why this actually does something for them. Because, like I said, it kind of sucks. I have parents in their 60s as well, and it's almost, and they've exercised throughout their life as well. But there's some things you just can't. Age is undeniable. It's you can't prevent it. It's just something that is going to hit regardless. And so the more that we can take those preventative measures and really push back that timeline, like some people that are, I know some people that are literally like 60 years old, like in diapers, and like they can't do this and they can't do that, extremely overweight. They haven't moved in 30 years, like actually like got up and done stuff. They order everything to their house. Like that sucks nowadays. Being 60 years old, that's still, you still have like a lot of life that you can live from that. But the moment that you don't, if you don't move it, you'll lose it. Move it or use it, or else you will lose it. And that's pretty much how it's been for a lot of people, especially in the States specifically. So when you have 60-year-olds in diapers, or just people that are in wheelchairs that are extremely overweight, not that they have any sort of physical disability, it is literally just because of obesity and because of the lack of movement, is something that they need to ease into and have fun with. I think a lot of the times having fun with it matters too. Sometimes giving them autonomy over what they want to do. Like, hey, so we can either do, we can either do a leg extension or we could do these squats today. Which one do you want to do today? Which one do you think would be more fun? Oh, well, my back is a little tight. Let's do the leg extensions instead. And it's almost like you kind of give them a choice. And through that choice, it is also their idea. But you're making it a little bit more of a, one or the other. So we are going to progress either way, but which direction do you want to head into? And so I noticed, like, whenever it comes to like my grandpa's, that sort of thing, it becomes a lot easier when they feel involved in that and you're just not lecturing them, telling them what to do. It's more so an idea of, hey, we're doing this together. I'm on your side. I'm on your team. How can we continue to get you in better health, to get you losing weight, to get you being able to play with your kids, your grandkids, picking up your dog, even just going to like Disneyland with your family because you're not sucking wind, you're not out of breath every 10 steps you take. I think it's just huge, just having that ability to overcome that fear, guide them in, get them comfortable, get them confident. And I think those are really the pillars of helping men and women over the age of 50 and 60 and so on actually do something about their health and actually enjoy their lives, because you'd be shocked how fast you can either go downhill or you can prevent that from happening. And I think just seeing like even Greg, Kathy, Angel, Mark, Pat, like all these people that I've trained over the years, and some of them for many years, it's just seeing that timeline expand for them. And it's almost crazy because sometimes their friends are starting to decline, even though they're all the same age. Some of them are even younger than they are, but they're starting to decline a lot faster because they're not doing something. They are not walking. They're not getting some steps in. They're not taking the dog on a walk. They're not going to the gym. They're fearful to push past what they were comfortable with in the gym. Now, obviously, like keep the good form, make sure they're doing good, make sure the movement pattern's clean and whatnot. But sometimes that takes a trained eye, a trained professional. But it's not unreasonable to have someone do something simple, frequent enough. And that frequency and consistency is what will keep all those preventative measures stronger, as opposed to just pushing really hard for like 2 months and then completely pulling back. But yeah, I think as far as the pillars go, I think those pretty much cover what I wanted to say. I'll play this clip of Greg as well. And if you have any questions on this, please feel free to drop a comment. I'm just kind of rambling in this one especially. I noticed that sometimes just letting the thoughts flow make it a little bit easier to just kind of share everything at once. And I know a lot of people like to kind of just listen to that as well. So if you are interested in coaching, one-on-one coaching, or if you do have somebody who's, maybe 50, 60, 70 years old, feel free to apply down below. And then I'll just see what I can do for you. In the meantime, here is Greg's video.
Hi, my name's Greg. I'm a 64-year-old ex-athlete. Grew up playing football, running track, was a PE major in college for my first year or two before I switched to a different degree. Ex-Air Force pilot, airline pilot, and I sit on my butt a lot. And I know how to work out in the gym. I've been very successful at it. I've run marathons. I've lost lots of weight before, worked out. But I hit a barrier that I needed, and we started training with Elijah at EOS. And I had no idea how old my information was on how the body works, how to move, how to work out. And when I started having problems with my knees, with my shoulders, with issues that I just had a staple way to work out. Now working with Elijah, one thing I always stayed away from was squats. Free weight squats always scared me. I always thought I was going to hurt my back. I've had knee surgeries in both knees and had really lost range of motion in my left knee. And after my first 9 months of doing squats with Elijah, slowly working into it, I could not believe that I was getting rid of knee pain and increasing range of motion as much as I did with squats, and it never once hurt my back. Like just learning the right way to do squats and not overdoing it was huge. Anyway, if you're wondering, if you're an older guy or older woman and you think I've been an athlete my whole life, I don't need this. I understand that emotion and that thought, but I can tell you this with Elijah's kinesiology background and his degree, it clearly comes out. Uh, and I've had issues now with my knees, with my shoulders. I had a pinched nerve in my back due to degenerative disc disease. And working with Elijah has made me able to push where I would not have pushed. It's helped me know that I can confidently work out in ways that I would not have worked out without his expertise. And it's worth every penny. If you're wondering if it's worth it for you to spend the money, I can tell you it's been worth it for us. Every time I've hit some level of setback, typically that's what makes me fall off the wagon and not get right back on. And Elijah just tends to be there gently nudging you to get back on the wagon in a very positive, young, energetic way. It's his demeanor is extraordinary. It's very motivating and just an impressive young man. And it's been very, very helpful to Kathy and me, my wife and I, to have his expertise getting us as into shape as we can be here as we enter the later years of our lives. Anyway, hope that helps.